All right, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. We are live in Lucas. No, we're not really. I can't back that up. We're not live, but I'm Brad.
Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
And we have a special guest today. Skylar, thanks for joining us.
Hey, no problem. Thank you guys for having me. I'm very excited to be on the podcast today, talk about best team in the football league.
I was just getting ready to say, when you popped on, you said you wanted to talk about the best team in the league. So you beat me to that for sure. We're glad you're with us. All right. So the usual, smash the like button, the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, call your grandma and everybody else. Probably texting your grandma by now. She's probably figured out that phone. Tell everybody, we need your support as we move forward. So this is the last. Today we're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. This is the last episode before the regular season starts. Is that right? I haven't looked at the schedule.
We have 2 more weeks of preseason football, and then we're into the regular season.
Are we going to do shows over preseason? We're going to talk about all the cuts? Yeah,
probably talk about what's going on, how the rookies are looking in their preseason games, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about any guys that sign contracts and then retire a couple of days later. Certainly there'll be some kind of drama going on, right? Which, speaking of drama, I before we get started on the Colts, I have to go back and say that my stance has softened up on the Jacksonville Jaguars a little bit. They saw the light, and despite the circus being in town and the hometown draw, they let Tim Tebow go. So we are conducting business in Jacksonville, not just selling circus tickets. So I'll eat those words. I'll back up a little bit on that. Wish the guy well. He'll end up somewhere. Everybody loves that guy for some reason. So all right. So we're going to talk about the Colts. And according to Skylar, it's the best team in the league. Do we need to take a poll, Hefe? You're going to second that?
Yeah, I'll second that. I don't have it by record, but the potential is there.
Sir.
All right. I like to put Jeff on the hot seat when it comes to the Colts. Zach, where do you have the Colts ranked overall in the entire league?
The entire league, I would probably say maybe top 6. I do think they have the potential to be the best. I do think they can win the Super Bowl if we stay healthy. But right now on paper, I would probably put them top 5, top 6.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think everybody's nodding their head. It's really hard, especially this early, really hard to tell. They're definitely contenders. They were contenders last year, in my opinion. A couple things go differently. And, camp's a little different last year. You let Rivers get used to the guys, get on that jump earlier. They don't lose that game to Jacksonville. Give the only win to the Jaguars last year. They certainly, what a fluke, but could have changed everything, but it didn't. So, Tom and the boys, the GOAT, looked pretty set on winning a 7th ring. Jeff, that. No reaction. No reaction?
I thought we were talking about Peyton Manning this whole time.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. For sure. So I don't have a whole lot to say about the Colts that I didn't say last year. I mean, Frank Reich has been a part of winning ever since he's ever been in the league. He played for one of the greatest coaches ever played the game in Marv Levy, played on one of the greatest teams ever assembled. They didn't win a Super Bowl, but they lost 4 in a row. And to make it to 4 Super Bowls is a remarkable feat in and of itself. Even if I hated Jim Kelly and the Bills when I was younger, now that I get older, I look back, it's just amazing what they accomplished in Buffalo. Frank Reich was there for all that. He started after Kelly left. Has to this day, he still has the greatest comeback in playoff history, right? Yeah. So, and he's just continued that on down the line, and the Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Now he has Wentz here. This guy has built a solid foundation. The whole team is well balanced across the board. We're not just talking about a quarterback who's running the entire program and a defense that's trying to just keep teams from scoring 50 points a game so they can score 51 and win. this is well balanced. This team's a real deal. It really is the real deal. I believe in him. I believe he knows what he's doing. I believe Ballard knows what he's doing. I've always believed Irsay knows what he's doing. It appears he's done it again. The Wentz thing freaks me out. We're worried about him getting hurt, and he comes here and gets hurt. I had the Colts as the third best team in the league before Wentz got hurt. That's contingent upon Wentz being able to do what he did in 2018, which I have to believe that Reich sees that in him and Ballard, that they absolutely. So my conspiracy is, and we've talked about this before, that right after the season last year, Philip Rivers said he wanted to come back. Immediately, he was like, "Yeah, I want to do another year," and then 3 days later, he retired. And what that was he was emotional. He was riding high. He had a good time. He was like, "Yeah, I want to come back." And then somebody called me off and said, I think we're going to go another direction." And we didn't know what that direction was at the time. Obviously, it was Carson Wentz. And so those guys went after him because they know, and it's a bird in the hand. They replaced something that was working for the promise of something else. I have to trust what they're doing. Hopefully we can get this guy healthy, get him back, and hopefully week one. And with what I saw just the other day in a preseason, the first two quarters, I have to believe they're probably they're in the top five. Zach, like you said, the top 5 or 6, that for sure. And I think the Chiefs on paper are better, but Indianapolis they've always had the Chiefs number. I don't know why that is. It's just the way it works. I'll take it. As long as we don't play the Chargers in the playoffs, and then I'm good, because it seems to go the other way with the Chargers. But I think the Colts definitely have 11 wins on their plate, if not more, if things go well, and a deep push in the playoffs, and quite possibly an appearance in the AFC Championship. That road's going to go through Buffalo and Kansas City for sure.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the coaches real quick, and then I'll jump into the quarterback situation, kind of get Jeff and Skylar's opinion on that. Overall, this year, if the Colts stay healthy, they get all their players back, I have them at 13-4 on the regular season, the number 3 overall seed in the AFC playoffs. So Frank Reich, 2018, he was 10-6, 2019, 7-9. That's the year Andrew Luck abruptly retired. It's a miracle we squeezed out 7 wins that year. Last year, bounced back 11-5 through all the injuries and COVID. Total, he's 28-20. It could be better, but that 2019 season really got him down. But the way that him and Ballard have been building this organization, the future is extremely bright. This year, we have Marcus Brady stepping up as the offensive coordinator. Question marks there. I don't know how well he is going to be. However, we know that Frank Reich, mastermind offensively, so we should be good there. And Matt Eberflus, interesting stat on him, his defenses has finished in the top 10 in each of his first 3 seasons in rush defense. And last year, they were pretty good in the pass defense. So we are set there. Coaching staff, wonderful. The biggest question mark this offseason right now is the quarterback situation, like you said, with Carson Wentz. I want to read some numbers with him, kind of ease everybody's little tension, because I know after he got hurt, everybody's like, oh, bring Phillip back, which just so happens to be the same people last year that were trying to put Phillip out to the pasture from the get-go. So Carson Wentz, last year, he had 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He led the league in being sacked. He was sacked 50 times in only 12 games. So his 15 interceptions was because he was running for his life on a very, very bad Eagles team, trying to make plays happen. So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And his stats the previous 3 years kind of back that up. 2019, 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. 2018, 11 games, 3,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. 2017, 13 games, 3,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. So we're not asking Carson Wentz to come in and be an MVP caliber player like Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, coming in here, asking him to do his job, manage the ball, and not turn it over. And his track record, the 3 years prior to last season, has proven he is more than capable of doing that. And his talent-wise is off the charts. He was the number 2 overall pick, and he's better than Jared Goff, who was picked number 1 overall in 2016. So Carson Wentz is the guy in Indianapolis as long as he can get healthy and play the season out. Major upgrade over Phillip Rivers, and we were a big Phillip Rivers fan last season. So Hefe, Skyler, what do you guys think about Carson Wentz?
I mean, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think Carson Wentz can easily come into Frank Reich's system with the pieces he has around him. You know, you mentioned how much he got sacked last year, but you think about the receivers that he was working with. You know, his main guys, Alshon Jeffrey, hurt pretty much all year. Deshaun Jackson out of the lineup pretty much all year. Jalen Reagor never really came on. He was in and out of the lineup with his own injury issues. And then what's he left with? What was it? Travis Fulgham was an XFL receiver, ends up on the Eagles, and that's their best receiver down the stretch. You know, it wasn't a good situation there, but with the situation Carson's going to have in Indy, it's going to be a thing where, you know, if we didn't run the ball so much, Carson Wentz, I would say he's going to be in the MVP conversation. I think he'll play like an MVP would play, but I don't think he'll have the stats that the other quarterbacks like a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers will have because we run the ball 35 times.
And I think that's a point we need to hang on. We need to jump on right here. We need to explore that because this team is so well balanced. This is what I was getting at early. It's so well balanced. He's not going to have to do what he's capable of. You take a guy who's had success and you reunite him with a guy he had success with. After he's got PTSD from getting his ass hammered all last year, and then you put him behind a line that's going to give him all the time that he needs. This is ripe for something really spectacular and special. And again, to your point, he's not going to have to do the things that he is capable of, and that's a beautiful situation to be in. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to stop on that for a second.
Yeah. The perfect situation you get. What really could turn out to be a generational type talent. A lot of people around the Colts training camp are saying that he's doing a lot of things that we were seeing Andrew Luck be able to do. Obviously, he has mobility. He has the kind of size, and he'll be taken care of behind the line. And he was already, you know, for the Colts fans that are worried about the injury, Quentin Nelson and Carson Wentz were both at practice, not doing any activity, but they were back on the practice field within a week from their surgeries. And so they're expecting both of those guys to be ready for week one. If they're not ready for week one, they might just miss that first game, come back for the Rams, which I really hope Quentin Nelson's back for the Rams game because we're going to need him to contain Aaron Donald a little bit, not get the quarterback killed. But I have a lot of faith in Carson. If Carson does get hurt, with what we saw in the first preseason game, it's our first time seeing Jacob Easton, our first time seeing Sam Ehlinger. Both of them looked pretty good. Jacob Easton came out of the weekend as the highest graded quarterback of the week in terms of PFF grades. So, it was a good start to the season for the quarterback situation. Hopefully we can keep that going.
Yeah, what do you think about the quarterback situation, Skyler?
So I tell you what, I wish Quentin Nelson could play quarterback because that would just fix everything. Honestly, I love that guy. Me and my uncle talk about it. He's a running fridge, and nobody wants to get hit by a running fridge. So basically, looking,
there's a history of that in the league. Speaking of fridge, and so maybe they get to the Super Bowl. Maybe they put Quentin in the backfield.
You love to see it. I do it in Madden. I just hope that comes in real life. But so yeah, I mean, with Frank Reich, I mean, going back to what you guys are saying, you guys all made good points. I love, I think to any great dynasty you're going to have, and granted we don't have one yet, hopefully. It starts from the front office and goes down, and I'm a sole believer, and it's definitely biased. I think Ballard's the greatest GM that's ever walked the planet, and first GM to draft 2 All-Pros in the same draft since Dick Butkus and I'm having a brain fart. The running back, not Walter, Gale Sayers. There we go. So you look at Frank Reich, also great coach. I thank the football gods that McDaniels did back out like he did. Didn't want him anyways. But that's you look at Luck's last season with Frank Reich, 2016. You got to really see Frank's offense in full-fledged, full power, where Luck's arm was healthy. You got to see the deep ball. And I think we missed that last year. Now I love Phillip Rivers, and I wish Andrew Luck had a little more Phillip Rivers when it came to heart. I don't want to say heart, but like that Brett Favre, that willingness to go through no matter what happens to me, I'm going to come out there and play for my team. I think that's something that's invaluable. Last year, Rivers ranked 30th out of 39 qualifying quarterbacks in deep ball attempt. And I think we missed that. And it's something you definitely noticed at the end of that Bills game. We couldn't get down the field to tie the game. That kind of plays a part on Rodrigo or Blankenship for missing that field goal in the game. But I tell you what, that was the one thing I told my uncle all year. I said, man, Rivers is good, but we're limited. We're limited on offense. And I think with Frank Reich to have full running machine, he needs that big arm. And I think if Easton can come in and fill in that spot, I think he can open up the offense. And we don't need, just like with Wentz, in this offense, like you said, he's not going to have the volume to be an MVP. But with this offense, he doesn't have to be Superman like he was last year in Philadelphia. I think with Wentz, it's the best situation for him. If he's going to turn around his career, it has to be in Indy. There's no other situation that's better fitted for him. And I think also a point I missed here, last year, Wentz, with everything that went on in Philadelphia, he was ranked 6th in the same rankings with Rivers in deep ball attempts. So I think with Wentz, you're going to get kind of the same feeling you did when Luck was playing in Frank Reich's offense. And I don't think he needs to be Superman. I don't think it's a big rush. We have such a deep and good team. There's no reason to push Wentz back out there. I mean, Nelson's going to be out there whether you like it or not. That man would probably be playing right now if he could. But I'm very excited. I think we're so good and so deep, great, blessing to Ballard for handling that. We're very deep. I think we can make a run. It's going to be a hard start for the quarterbacks, but I think a good enough team to be in every game. We can compete in every game. And that's all you got to do, especially when it comes down to December football.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said except for one thing. You said Chris Ballard's the best GM in NFL history. And as much as I love Chris Ballard,
don't say Bill Belichick.
No.
I was about to say.
You gonna say Bill Polian?
Yeah, as Colts fans, we're so blessed because we had Bill Polian, and then just a little gap where we had on it. I think was his name.
Are we going to say his name?
Yeah.
It was a terrible error, but then we come straight back to greatness in the GM spot. I mean, it's great to have. He's still
very young.
Best ever. Very, very. And just signed an extension with head coach Frank Reich. They're both here till 2026. So we're set up for a long haul right now.
Yeah. I want to say a couple things. Zach brought up the whole Luck thing and with Reich. And Reich, his first year, he won 12 games?
He was 10-6.
10-6, right. For some reason, there's a lot of people in Indianapolis that love Jacoby Brissette, but he was not. So Reich did miracles that season. They won 7 games to be able to pull that off with the disaster that happened with Luck leaving and having Brissette behind center. And last year, they brought in a guy, a 17-year veteran, who walked in with no camp because of COVID. And they still pulled off 11 wins. It should have been 12. We just talked about that. He's a miracle worker. And if things go well, I can't. I mean, this team could very easily win 14 games. With that said, based on what's happened, the other thing with the surgery, I thought it was interesting. We talked about this as it was unfolding. That when Wentz got hurt. How that unfolded was quite hysterical. As it was minor, and then it was okay, it's a little serious, and now it's serious, and they sent him up to Wisconsin for the surgery consult, and then Carson was like, "I'm just going to rehab," and the Colts were like, "The you are," and I know that's what happened. Wentz was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to rehab, and I'll be back." And next thing you know, he was in surgery. So I'm sure somebody was above him. His pay grade was like, no. But what it tells me is that they're not concerned about winning the first week near as much as they are as having him healthy towards the end. So that tells me they have confidence that no matter what happens the first couple of weeks, we're still going to be in playoff contention and we can put it together and make a run in the end. That's the way I'm looking at it. I might be overanalyzing that whole thing. It's quite possible. I do that quite often, but it gives me, when he went to surgery, I was like, they want to do this. They want to do this the right way because they're looking down the road. And I think that's important because we saw what dropping the first game did to us last year against Jacksonville. And then they couldn't quite put it together. So, and then the last thing I want to say is I want to give Skyler big props for pulling Gale Sayers out of his ass. That's not a name that too many people know these days. Good call there. Definitely, I was impressed.
Took me a minute, but yeah, it's a lot. It's the one sport that I could just be obsessed with, and I don't mind.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the running back situation.
The running back situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad situation. We have Jonathan Taylor, who was the number 3 overall rushing yard back last season. He finished with 1,169 yards, 11 touchdowns. He only fumbled once. Marlon Mack is coming back off season-ending injury. 2019, he was a 1,000-yard rusher, 8 touchdowns, 0 fumbles that season. And then you have Nyheim Hines in the backfield, who averages 4.3 yards per rush, 3 touchdowns last season. He had 64 receptions, 7.7 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. So we have 3 workhorses ready to get the job done in the backfield. I'm pretty excited about it myself.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I think – what we wanted to see last year was, Marlon Mack be that lead guy and be the mentor for Jonathan Taylor. And I think Marlon going down kind of stunted the growth for Jonathan Taylor. But then at the end of the year, obviously finishes the year with a 253-yard performance. And just that whole last half of the year, like the last 6 games, just absolutely started taking over. And you could see the development every single game. He was able to find the holes. He was being more patient. And when he needed to explode, he was explosive and he has the speed. And we were seeing him catch the ball out of the backfield, which was a great sign. He can be a 3-down kind of back because Nyheim Hines, we're probably not going to be able to pay him with all the guys Ballard needs to pay. Nyheim Hines might be in his last year with the Colts because he deserves to get paid. He's a really good back. He can do everything. Marlon Mack also, as much as we love him, he's coming off an Achilles tear. He's only making $2 million this year. They didn't invest heavily into him, so I don't expect him to be, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to take like 75% of the carries. Maybe not immediately. I think the first couple games we might see Marlon Mack a little more involved and Nyheim Hines, obviously doing what he does. He runs more of the gimmick kind of plays. But I think Jonathan Taylor, people say cream rises to the top. Jonathan Taylor, how do you not play a guy that is just instant electricity when he steps on the field? So, either way this goes, the nice thing about it is if one of these guys gets hurt, you have more studs behind him. Even when you go to the 4th-string running back, Jordan Wilkins, they've kept him around for 3 or 4 years at this point. They really like him. We've had to see him a couple times because of different injuries, and he performed fine. He didn't hold the offense back. So, I like the running back situation might be the best running back situation in the league, honestly.
Yeah, I think it saves, any chance of the offense or saves the offense at the beginning of the season. Because, without that running back room and that offensive line, minus the left tackle position until Fisher gets back, how else do you have a young quarterback come in? If you're a young quarterback, you got to love the situation, the backfield you have. And what you were saying about Mack, definitely Mack, isn't going to have the load he would have had last year. But I'd love to see him, bounce back. He's going to be gone after this year. I'd love to see him get an opportunity starting somewhere. It's probably going to be for the Patriots because that's just how things fall. Now, with again to the last year, I really thought we weren't going to bring back Marlon Mack and T.Y. Hilton, just knowing Ballard and all the money we're going to have to save for all these guys he's drafted. I think if you let Mack walk, I think you have to consider seeing if Hines would take a discount to stay with the team. A kind of utility player that Hines is, he reminds me a lot of Darren Sproles. I think he's personally better than Darren Sproles, but a player like that, it doesn't just grow on trees. And with the contract situation, I think it's important to have that running back on a rookie contract. Because you look at all the GMs, none of them want to pay a running back if they don't have to. But when it comes to Nyheim Hines, I mean, everybody in the league knows who Nyheim Hines is, whether it's catching the ball, returning the ball, running the ball. I mean, he's pretty much everything you can ask for. But like you said, I mean, he could probably get starter money somewhere, and it's a matter of if Ballard wants to pay that or not. Because we still have a lot of players that we have to pay, and that's not including free agents that we might want to bring in. But yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I think it's the best running back situation in the league. You'll never hear anybody else other than us say that. But I think with the situation going in early in the season, that's probably what's going to save us is that running back room.
Well, and I do have to say that I don't know. I don't remember who announced. Does anybody remember who announced the game the other night?
The real old guy with the glasses. You talking about on the Colts radio or the actual national broadcast?
The TV broadcast. One of them remarked about how spectacular the Colts running back situation was. So people are noticing the same thing that you just said. So, and that's good. That's real good that you get people that are paid experts that are saying the same thing. It's a good position to be in.
Kind of hit on that, but transition into the wide receivers group. Having an excellent point that Skyler was talking about, especially early on in the season, being able to rely on your running backs like that, especially if you have like Easton or Ellinger in there as your starting quarterback while Wentz recovers, that would allow them to be better off with the receiver core that we have built, because not only do we have T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal, who are sneaky, they could get down the field, get it in the middle, make any kind of catch you need. We have 4 other really big, capable receivers, and Michael Pittman, he's 6'4". Michael Strachan, is that how you say his last name? The rookie?
I think it's Strawn. I think I've heard multiple different things.
Yeah, he's 6'5", and then you got Desmond Patton, who's also 6'4", and then Paris Campbell, he's 6 foot, but his ceiling's all the way up there if he could finally get going on the field, which I think he will this season. So you have the offensive line to protect your really young quarterbacks if they have this, or even Wentz for that matter. You have a very strong backfield that you can set the passing game up with. And then you have these really tall, big receivers that you don't have to be pinpoint accurate with because they're so big, they could go up and get the ball. And I think that will definitely help the deep game like Skyler was talking about earlier. I like this receiver core too. I mean, we don't have the real big names. They're all in-house guys, but these guys are more than capable, and they're going to make some pretty big plays this season.
That's how I feel too. Everybody dogs the Colts all the time. Oh, you should have went and tried to get Julio Jones. You should have tried to get a receiver in free agency. But I don't think people realize, I mean, T.Y. Hilton at the end of last year, T.Y. Hilton was coming back on. We were seeing the old version of T.Y. And I think the last 8 games of the year, I think he averaged like 7 catches for 80 yards and had a few touchdowns. You know, he didn't have a touchdown until week 11 or something like that, but finished the year with 4 or 5 touchdowns and was a big factor in Phillip Rivers ending up over 4,000 yards and how Phillip Rivers was playing, you know. And I think T.Y. Hilton can still bring it, especially with what's going on around it. Obviously, the running game, people have to pay attention to it, so that should help the pass game. And that's going to help a second-year guy like Michael Pittman, who people are expecting him to have a really big season, rightfully so. He showed multiple times, whether it's through the pass game or even on one end around, he has some very explosive ability. You just got to put the ball in his hands. And I think Paris Campbell is the X factor for this entire team. Can Paris Campbell stay healthy? Because if he stays healthy, this entire offense has a whole different dynamic. It's like having a young T.Y. Hilton again back in the lineup. Paris Campbell can blow by anybody. People are saying he looks faster than he's ever looked. And I think, you know, the number change, kind of changing things up for him, getting a new kind of energy in there. I think he's going to be probably, as long as he stays healthy, should be the best Colts receiver this year. And I think that Mike Strachan or Mike Strawn, however you say that, I think he has the potential to come on as somebody, a huge fantasy sleeper. I think he's just so physically gifted. You know, there's some of his skill needs to be polished up because he hasn't played football for that long in comparison to some of the guys that he's competing against here. In practice and in training camp and everything. But I think in the long run, Paris Campbell, Mike Strachan, Zach Pascal, still super underrated by everybody for some reason, but he's so dependable. He's caught more third down balls for first downs over the last 2 seasons than any Colt. So, I like, just like Zach said, I like the receiving core a lot. People can keep hating, but you can't get mad when there's too many weapons. I mean, last year, Phillip Rivers was completing passes to 9 people every game. So, nobody's going to have, 1,500 yards in this offense, but you're going to see a lot of guys have 400 plus yards and contribute when it matters.
Yeah, and to kind of throw in there too, we also have 2-time Pro Bowler Jack Doyle and Big Mo Alley Cox to go with those guys.
Yeah, I think it's a big year for Mo. Honestly, I think if you take out Trey Burton in the offense last year and you give those targets to Big Mo, I think he has a big season. I think with the potential, I think Carson, if he, Carson being a tight end guy, I don't want to commit to Mo Alley Cox because I do love Jack Doyle just as much, and I'm excited to see what Frank can do with Kylan Granson. But I think the biggest thing is having 3 tight ends. I think that's key for Frank Reich in his offense. And once you get those guys going, I mean, like you said, we have our weapons on the outside. We have our running back. This offense can be really, really dangerous if they can get the ball movement. And also if they could just stay healthy. I mean, that's the biggest Colts concern every year is there's always somebody we're missing.
Yeah, and that shit runs all the way back to the Bob Sanders days.
Oh, my God, yeah.
The one year that he actually stayed healthy, the whole year, Colts had the number 1 defense. He was Defensive Player of the Year. But hopefully, I think, again, my mind always comes back to Paris Campbell. When I think about the Colts, like I just need him to stay healthy. I want to see what this team looks like with a healthy Paris Campbell. I think the offense can be very, very special.
Yeah, he's a perfect weapon for Frank Reich's offense.
So there's 2 things I want to inject here. First thing is that I don't know if you heard during the broadcast the other day, they were talking about Tony Dungy talked about how every year as the head coach, that their defense didn't quite meet standards, that it was subpar until they brought Bob Sanders in, which matches everything that we talk about. Hefe, when you get mad at me when I talk about, not really, you don't get mad at me, but Scott, I don't know if you've heard me say I'm not a big Tony Dungy fan. I'm a Tony Dungy fan. I just think he's overrated for that reason right there. Peyton Manning was.
I could agree with that.
Obviously carrying the bulk of that weight, and we saw that collapse. I thought it was interesting that Tony Dungy admitted in an interview that all the Colts defenses from that era were subpar until they brought Sanders in. And Hefe, your remark reminded me of that. The second thing is that all this offensive prowess and magic that you're talking about right now, let's talk about the 5 guys that are making that shit happen. One of the best offensive lines in the entire league. When you have, they have just assembled a freaking machine at the top that's going to do nothing but make all these guys that you guys were just talking about, make them look good.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2-time Pro Bowl center and Ryan Kelly. I think he's back. He's back on the practice field now, I do believe. Quentin Nelson, 3-time Pro Bowler, best guard in the game, hands down. And then on the other side, on the guard, you got Mark Lewinsky. Right tackle's Braden Smith. The biggest question mark here is we all know left tackle. I think I looked at the depth chart. We have Will Holden in there as a number 1 right now, and Sam Tevye as number 2. Eric Fisher's our number 3, but he's a Pro Bowler tackle we just brought in from Kansas City. Once he gets back from injury, he should be the number 1 guy. I think that's definitely going to help out. But yeah, as long as we get Eric Fisher in there and he's playing well, this offensive line is going to be perfect.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, can you imagine running to the left side? I just saw some numbers yesterday. With Jonathan Taylor running to the left as compared to the right, and the efficiency that happens when he and look, I like Mark Lewinsky and Braden Smith are really good in their own right, but when you're going to stack Eric Fisher next to Quentin Nelson and you have Ryan Kelly in the middle of that thing, I mean, running to the left side, he was getting I think it was 4.1 yards per carry before contact running to the left last season. And I just think whether it was Anthony Costanzo or Eric Fisher, shouldn't be a whole lot of drop-off once he gets back in there. I think the first couple weeks of the season without Eric Fisher going to be a little rough When we have to go up against a decent pass rusher, that left tackle position is, didn't look good when Jacob Easton was playing. He was getting hit a lot, and I didn't like that. So hopefully it gets better. I'm ready for Eric Fisher to get healthy, but with all 5 of these guys healthy, I mean, the offense can do whatever Frank Reich wants it to do.
So on the heels of your statement that the offense can pretty much do what Frank Reich wants it to do, we know that Frank Reich appears to be an offensive genius. Wentz appears to be the answer. We're stacked in every direction, got one of the best offensive lines. And then we flip to the other side of the ball. We got one of the best defenses in the league. This is what I was talking about, balance. This is what we didn't have in the previous era with Dungy. This is a balanced machine, which means when guys go down, other guys, this is Bill Belichick shit right here, where other guys just step in and the machine never skips a beat. That's what we're building here. The defense, we were ranked. We were the best defense in the league for a while last year, and then Leonard got hurt. Right? Then we finished in the top 5, I think.
I think we were 8 total defense.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost Buckner there for a little bit, and Grove for like a bit, because the second Titans game we got destroyed by Derrick Henry because Grove and Buckner was gone.
Yeah. So let's talk. Where do you guys want to start with the defense?
I mean, I could just run down some names real quick.
Let's do it.
You got DeForest Buckner, who should be. He didn't make the Pro Bowl last year. He should have been a Pro Bowler, absolutely, if not Defensive Player of the Year, because he's that good. I think he's going to have another huge year. Grover Stewart inside, Tyquan Lewis on the right defensive end side, and then Kwity Paye, who I said in my mock draft that the Colts were going to take at the 21 spot in the first round. He came out of Michigan. He's supposed to be a really huge player. I think he's going to do well at defensive end. And then your linebackers, you have Darius Leonard, who's a 2-time Pro Bowler, probably one of the best linebackers in the game right now. Bobby Okereke, who's still a stud, and Zaire Franklin is your other starting linebacker for now. And then in the backfield, you have Kenny Moore, who is also a very good player. You have Xavier Rhodes, who is a Pro Bowler. And then Julian Blackman, who may be the best defensive back we have, and that's saying something considering the guys I just listed. So this defense is looking good. Like I said earlier, Eberflus, his first 3 seasons as defensive coordinator, we were in the top 10 in the rush game. Last year, we slipped in there for the pass game too. This defense is getting better, in my opinion, even though we lost Justin Houston. But I'm looking forward to it. This Colts team is well balanced all the way around.
Yeah, and the only thing on the defense that really worries me this year, I've heard a lot of good things about the pass rush in training camp. Some of these guys are unstoppable right now, and I'm hoping that can help a guy like Rock Ya-Sin. You guys heard me talk a lot of shit about Rock Ya-Sin last year, and rightfully so. He got burnt so much last year, but with the lack of pass rush in some of those games last year, I think when you add a guy like Kwity Paye, Kemoko Turay, which I told you guys last preseason, a healthy Kemoko Turay will and should be in the running for a Defensive Player of the Year award at some point in his career. Kwity Paye and Kemoko Turay have been, quote, unstoppable in Colts practices and camp. And that excites me, the fact that you're going to pair those two up with DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. Tyquan Lewis is said to have been having a big camp, and he's finally starting to progress. And so, I mean, at this point, who are you going to double? You can't go and double DeForest and then leave a one-on-one with Kwity if Kwitty's just muscling everybody out of the way. You can't just leave Grover Stewart on an island because he's an animal and he'll eat everybody up in the run game. So as long as the pass rush gets better, there's not going to be as much time for receivers to get open against Rock Ya-Sin, which in turn should help him be better at what he does, because we have Xavier Rhodes, had a wonderful year last year, a huge bounce back year in his career. When everybody was saying, oh, he's hit that 30 threshold, he's going to slow down, he's not going to be good anymore. He should have been a Pro Bowler last year, in my opinion. Kenny Moore, another guy who should be a perennial All-Pro Pro Bowler, and a lot of people just say, oh, he's the best slot corner in the league, and which rightfully so. It's a really hard position to play, and he's great at it, especially for his size. But I think Kenny Moore could play on the outside and be just as good in that position. I think he's a top 5, maybe top 10 corner in the NFL. So the defense all around, I mean, from the front to the back, you guys have talked a lot about the balance. It's just so balanced. And from everything I'm hearing, the pass rush this year should be unreal, which is going to help out the rest. If we can drop Darius Leonard back in coverage instead of having to blitz him, that helps the entire defense because we know his wingspan is long. We need those arms in coverage. So, I think this defense is going to be competing with the Washington football team for the number 1 defense all year. The Washington football team is going to be a powerhouse, but the Colts should be right there in the conversation, top 5 defense all year long.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, especially on the Rocky Sin point. I mean, at this point in Rocky Sin's career, I mean, you got to take that next level. With him, I remember going to the Denver game, and I think he had like 3 or 4 pass interference calls in the same game. I think he even got 5. And just remember pulling my hair out. Like, I mean, and Frank wasn't even pulling him from the game, which I get you with a young guy, you got to let him play through it. But as a fan, it's really hard to watch. I think the biggest thing for our defense, we didn't lose Eberflus to the Texans. I think that would have hurt us a lot. I don't want to say a lot, but I think it's hurt our souls to have him go to an enemy in the division. And I think it saved his career because that team is terrible without Deshaun Watson. And with Rocky Sin, he's going to need that pass rush. And I think I loved Houston. Obviously, he's getting older, but I think getting Kwity Paye was huge. Like you said, Zach, I mean, I was hoping for Paye in the draft. And I remember watching it with my buddy, and I was like, man, if Kwity Paye could just fall to us. I was like, I know Ballard won't trade up, but I know if Paye falls, that's who we're taking. And sure enough, when they announced it, I went crazy. I'm sorry. I think I got my mechanic keep calling me. Yeah, and to get back to what you said about Kenny Moore, he's, I think, by far the best corner we got. And I think he was, when he got his contract, the highest paid slot corner in the league. I don't know if he still is. And rightfully so. He is a beast for being a small and an undrafted free agent, which thanks to the Patriots for cutting him.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And I think a big thing is last year I've noticed with our defense, man, I love Anthony Walker, but he was a liability in cap coverage. I think you get a guy like Bobby Okereke, who should have had all of Anthony Walker's snaps last year. You bring him in, pair him up with Darius Leonard. That is a nasty young linebacking group who's very aggressive. They're not scared to go after the ball. And when they go after the ball, they don't miss tackles. You see a lot of guys who go for strips and they end up losing the guy. It happens a lot. It even happens to Darius every once in a while. But you love the aggressiveness. But you bring in Zaire Franklin. You also have Matthew Adams competing for that third linebacker spot. That's really cool to watch. I really hope that one of them can step up, since we didn't bring anybody in. That lets me know that Ballard's confident in that linebacker room. I'd say my biggest worry with this defense is the cornerback room, and it's not because of Xavier Rhodes and Kenny Moore. I think it's that third spot. Is it going to be Rocky Sin, Marvell Tells making the name for himself in camp, as he was before he sat out last year? And I love Isaiah Rodgers. I don't think he'll probably ever get an opportunity with us other than special teams. But I think with the speed he has and just his bloodline, I mean, I think he might actually be able to do something. And like you said with Ballard earlier, was the depth of the team and how deep he's made this team. I mean, you go and draft Deo Dangbo after you drafted Kwity Paye. That shows like we want to build in the trenches with his Ballard's philosophies when he walked into the door. You hope that Paye works out, he stays healthy, he gets that ankle right. This D-line stays healthy, just like that Seattle defense that unfortunately beat Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. Sherman is good, but he's not as good as he was that year without that pass rush. That pass rush is really good. And when you have a good pass rush, it helps everybody else. Just like when you have a good offensive line, it helps everybody else in the offense. I'm excited for the defense. I just think our oldest position right now is corner. But wow, what a steal with Kari Willis and Julian Blackmon by Ballard. You don't want to pay a guy like Hooker when you have Julian Blackmon on a rookie contract. That's huge.
See, I wanted to get your guys' opinion because there's something I've been thinking, because we didn't re-sign Anthony Walker, and the front office has come out and said they like Bobby Okereke a lot. They want to see what he's going to be able to do. But I think I feel like they should make a point to slip Kari Willis down into that weak side linebacker spot every now and then and keep Sean Davis up top, the 6th-round pick coming out of Florida. He's a very explosive player, hard hitter. A lot of people comparing him to Bob Sanders. with the way he plays, the way he hits people. So I'd be interested to see if that's something that Eberflus tries to get creative and have more athleticism on the field. If it's like, certain passing situations, if you can slip Kari down to cover a tight end, then, guy like in week 2 when we play the Rams, cover a guy like Tyler Higbee, an athletic tight end, and you have your safety cover him from inside the box instead of having a linebacker cover him, which the linebackers that we have are also very athletic. But I like the matchup more when there's a safety there. So I think there's some experimenting that could happen there. At least I hope so. Eberflus seems to have good grip on what he's doing as a defensive coordinator. But that was something that I thought after we drafted Sean Davis, I think I might like to see that, because Anthony Walker leaves a big hole in the defense, especially in the run. He was amazing in the run game. And so, again, Kari Willis, a big safety, put him in the box. I think he can do a lot of things for you there. So I want to get your guys' opinion. Say, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think they should just leave it the way it is? What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they are capable of doing that and the players making the plays, that's what my old high school football coach used to say. Players make plays, and if they are capable of doing that, that just makes your defense more versatile. You can throw out so many different combinations to keep that offense off guard. I think if they are able to actually do it and make the plays and cover the guys, why not? That's just better for the defense all around.
You're not going to give Coach Pelly the big shout out?
Yeah, I'll give it to Coach Pell. Hey, he's like a 3-time state champ now.
Go ahead, Skyler.
Yeah, so I definitely, Jeff, I agree with you. I think that's huge for Kari Willis. Not only is he darn good in coverage, but he's just as good as a tackler and playing in the box. With safeties, you worry, sometimes with the size, there's going to be mismatches. And I think he can play safety just because he can play linebacker. So why not? Especially if you have Julian Blackman free roaming in the back. There's no reason not to have, especially in today's NFL. And you have Jamal Adams, Tyrann Mathieu. It's very normal to have a safety in the box helping your linebackers out. And a lot of times they can make a lot of big plays being that close to the ball.
Well, to transition from the defense, before we get out of here and get done talking, I think it should be known, in the Colts' heyday, back when they were busy having the winningest decade in NFL history, one of the things that cost them a lot, the special teams. And I think, as a Colts fan, it's nice to have a really good place kicker and to have a really good punter, because they put the team in situations that are favorable. Rigoberto Sanchez is one of the best punters in the league, one of the most accurate punters in the league, and I don't think these guys get talked about enough. And kind of rightfully so. They're only on the field 3 or 4 times a game, and whatever people want to say about it, but they're some of the most important people on the entire team. We had Rigoberto Sanchez got the cancer last year and had to miss some games, and there was a noticeable difference in the Colts game. And so I think, it should just be, a special shout out to our kicker and our punter, because they're 2 of the best at what they do in the league. And from what I hear, Rodrigo Blankenship has been smashing balls this year. One of his only knocks was he can't hit the long ball. He's been smashing 60 and 70 yarders in practice this year.
That's because he's got a little competition in camp this year. And Reich knows what he's doing, right? Lit a fire in his ass. Look, and he last year he finished in the top 5 in points in the league. And at one point he was on pace to actually break the all-time record. So he is a good kicker. He's a very accurate kicker. And we've been spoiled with kickers recently with Vinatieri. It used to be that the Colts, you guys are.
Oh, but not recently.
Do what?
I said not too recently with that Vinatieri. Love him. Don't get me wrong, Hall of Famer, but a lot of headaches that last year.
That last year. But you guys are too young to remember that back in the day, the Colts always had the best kickers because they kicked all the damn time because we couldn't move the ball anywhere. And it was nice when it kind of came around and we had Vinatieri come in. But I agree with you. Both these kickers are solid. And congratulations to Hot Rod. He's engaged to be married, right?
Yeah, that's right. Looked like it happened at practice the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's, had a good year last year, smashing the ball, killing the competition in camp. He's got a new bride on the hook. Life is good to be an NFL kicker, I guess.
Hot rod, baby.
I got to ask you guys, I did want your opinion. I think this is a very, very hot topic in Colts Nation. I mean, how was your guys' initial reaction when Andrew Luck retired? And then how is your kind of opinion now that he's kind of had time to marinate? I feel like with Andrew, I understand why he did it. It's how he did it. 2 weeks before the season, I mean, Colts were Super Bowl contenders, and then you get a tweet from Bleacher Report that Andrew Luck's retiring, and nobody believed it. I didn't believe it. I was in shock for the first 2 days, and I missed him and not having him in Madden. So I think that just shows how adverse our team is, and that's what a championship team needs, is that be able to face that adversity. But yeah, I mean, what was your guys' opinion with Andrew? I mean, I loved him as a player, but I just wish he would have handled it differently.
Well,
absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, and let me go first, and I'm going to throw it to you, Zach. It's just a game, man. In the end, that guy gave everything, more than everything he had, and it about cost him his health. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what an entire city thinks if you end up in a wheelchair, and I'm exaggerating, maybe. But I mean, the guy had a kidney laceration. I mean, so it's easy for us to sit here and say, I wouldn't have done it this way, I wouldn't have done it that way. The thing, and I bet, the interesting thing is, I bet if you ask Andrew Luck, he wishes he would have done it differently. I can't help believe, with what I know about the guy, which I don't know a whole lot. I don't know the guy personally, but what I think I understand about the guy, he seems like the kind of guy that he probably wishes that whole thing would have come down a little differently. But I do also know that it probably speaks volumes to the fact that he didn't want to leave the game. And then it came crunch time, and he had to make a decision before he got any deeper, and he pulled the trigger. And Zach, you can relate to that, can't you?
Yeah, a little bit. I played a season of college football and suffered through concussions and stuff, and had wrist injuries. Everything was just kind of building up, and eventually I made the decision to step away from the game, and I'm glad I did, because who knows where I'd be at mentally. I mean, I'm already a little crazy.
And it was shortly before you were supposed to report to camp. You had made that. You've been struggling with that decision yourself, and then right before camp, you had made that decision. And it, no doubt your coach wasn't real happy with your decision, but. And that was kind of my point. It's kind of why I threw it to you, and Skylar. So my answer is Zach's been through that to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, obviously not on the level of Andrew Luck, where you're making millions of dollars and you're working for $1 billion organization. But yeah, I totally can understand where he's coming from. I really feel for the guy, because I mean, we all knew that this team was becoming special. You have to know that he knew that too. He was there every single day watching this unfold. And for him to make that decision and get away from a team that is on the rise like this, it had to be a very excruciating, tough decision for him. So I feel for the guy. I wish that the fans, I think given time, the fans have kind of retracted the initial anger that they had towards him. But I wish the fans would have handled it a little bit better instead of booing him out of the stadium like we did. I think that's pretty shallow in my opinion. But I feel for the guy. Obviously, I wish he was back. Who knows how many championships we could win with him as a quarterback. But the way we're heading, it looks promising.
Wasn't that Schefter's fault? Wasn't that leaked and he tweeted it? And right, isn't that how that happened?
Yeah, they were in the
middle of a
preseason game. Yeah, third quarter of a preseason game. He drops the news, Andrew Lucker's retiring, and then you turn on the game, and they have the cameras on him, and you can see the awkward conversation that he's having with Jacoby about, now everybody knows. So you're the quarterback. Just
congratulations.
So and initially, I wasn't happy because I didn't understand it. When I was still watching the game and I saw the notification, I said the same thing. Like, there's no way this is real. This is some kind of joke. Like, I don't know what this is. And then, come to find out, he's really retiring. And I'm glad they did the press conference so soon after that game, because, after hearing what Andrew had to say and what he was going through and not wanting to go through the rehab he was going through, he had been through like a year and a half of rehab, and whether that some of that is alleged to be his fault, for wrecking on a snowmobile, messing his shoulder up some more. But I just think, this day and age, a lot of the latest athlete we've seen come out about mental health was Simone Biles, one of the greatest Olympic athletes we've ever seen. And she had to step away from it. So I think it was unfair to Andrew Luck for everybody to be so hard on him. As football fans, we're, a lot of us are natural competitors. We want our team to win damn near as much as these guys want to win, right? So, I understand people being upset, but I think in the moment, people booing him is one of the things, like one of the most disgusting acts from football fans I've ever seen. This was a generational talent, damn near a surefire Hall of Famer if he plays in the league for 12 or more years. I mean, he was going to leave his mark on the game. He gave us so much as Colts fans. And then for people to boo him afterwards. And then, during his press conference, when he starts crying, there are grown men all over the place that start crying with him, like, just cheer up, buddy. Like, if you got to retire, just be happy. And he's even stayed in Indianapolis. He still lives in Indy. His family is in Indy. So hopefully the fans are better there to him. Hopefully he doesn't have to deal with anybody heckling him. But, initial thoughts was like, what the is going on? But now it's just, I just hope he's happy, man,
And I think,
I can't go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I want to throw one point in here. I think the best point here made was he walked away from a team that he knew was on the rise. I can't imagine how hard that is after you just had your brains bashed in for several years, and you're a competitor, and you can win, and this team's being built around you, and you walk away from when it finally starts seeing the results. I think that was a great point to make. Oh, go ahead, Skylar. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I definitely agree with you guys. My initial reaction, like you said, was shock. I have nothing but respect and love for Andrew Luck for giving us something to cheer for during the Grigson and Pagano era, because that was the only thing we were cheering for was Andrew Luck and all the greatness he brought to the franchise. I don't want to say I was surprised, and I do want to thank my uncle for that. Me and him talk Colts football till we're blue in the face, and he said it ever since that shoulder injury with Andrew. He said, I'm worried that he's such an active guy. He loves to do so many different things. With football, if you do go through all his injuries and you look at the injury history, what's his body going to look like when he does decide to retire if he played his whole career? Is he still going to be able to do those active things? And my uncle called it. I think it was 2017. He mentioned it. And sure enough, when it happened, I called him and I said, you son of a gun, you called it. But I mean, I understand. I respect it. He had a new daughter born, I do believe. So all the love and respect for Andrew. As Colts, the franchise has figured it out, hopefully. And we can move past that, and all we can do is just think about what if. But we also got to look forward to the future and pray for the best.
Yeah, and hopefully Carson Wentz 2021 can be the second coming of what Andrew Luck was supposed to be with this team around him.
Yeah, winning fixes everything, man. It really does. People, we get another Super Bowl, and I heard Jim Irsay say when they interviewed him the other day during the game, I heard him say that his expectations are to win at least 2 championships in the next decade. So there are high expectations in the Colts compound right now. We'd love to see it, to quote my favorite nephew. I hope none of my other nephews are watching this.
No, I was about to say.
Hey, so what's everybody's records for the Colts this year? What are we looking like?
I got them 13-4, barring that Wentz and Nelson stay healthy and they get back early.
Yeah, I've got them at 14-3. That's depending on how things go with the Titans. I think, again, just like we called it last year, it's a coin toss in in this division between them and the Titans, depending on how each team does respectively, which is like, right. Thanks, Mr. Obvious. We know that, but it depends on whether the Titans have the offensive magic they had last year, whether the Colts can, Wentz is the guy to plug in here, but I have them winning 14 games and winning the division.
Yeah, I got them around 12-5. As Colts fans, that there's always where you just throw it out. There's those games where, like the Dolphins game, when Hoyer came in, situations happen, you lose games you shouldn't have lost. And as Colts fans, there's always that one, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, like the Dolphins, where it's like, what the heck? But yeah, I think 12-5 is pretty good. Like you said, Zach, if everybody can stay healthy, Wentz and Nelson, I think they can win some football games and get some momentum going for the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'm right there with all you guys. I have them going 13-4 this year, 5-1 in the division. I have them starting 1-2, which is going to panic a lot of Colts fans when that happens. But the first half of the schedule is crazy, and I think week 1 they can beat the Seahawks, but I think week 2, even fully healthy, I think the Rams are a problem, and I wasn't ready to give this team, who's still going to be getting acclimated with the new quarterback and some new guys in places. Obviously Bobby Okereke stepping into a new role, so I think they might have trouble with the Rams. And then I have them splitting games, home games with the Titans, which is why they're starting 1-2 for me. But they finished very strong, finished 13-4, and is the number 4 seed in the AFC for me.
Yeah, the beginning of the season is what worries me the most. Obviously, we have the Seahawks and the Rams at home. That's going to help. Then we're Tennessee on the road. That could be tough real early to play the Titans on the road that early. And then the Dolphins and the Ravens and the 49ers are behind it. We still have the Buccaneers in there too. So that's why I said 14-3, but I think 12-5 is very realistic as well. I don't see them winning more than 14 games with this schedule, in my opinion.
So here's a little trivia for you guys. How many years has it been since the Colts won a game week 1 to open the season?
I don't know.
I think it was the Raiders, right? Was it the Raiders we beat? Andrew Luck had that rushing touchdown. I can't remember what year that was. But
I don't know who the opponent was, but it's been 8 years. We haven't won, or we've lost 8 straight week 1 games. I thought last year was for sure going to be the one we beat it, or we break that streak when we play the Jaguars. But, so that streak is still going. 8 years since we won on week 1.
Hopefully it's this year.
Yeah, no kidding.
You said 2012?
Yep.
All right. Well, 2012, they lost the home opener to the Bears.
Oh, come on, Hefe. Get it together.
Maybe the year after?
2013, maybe.
Yeah, it could have been the 2012-2013 season. Look at it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, 2013 against the Raiders. Yeah, good call, Skyler.
Yep.
You had to work during that game.
Yeah.
You guys remember this stuff. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't even remember what somebody said during the broadcast the other day.
I'll tell you what, I'll never forget that Kansas City playoff game. I think that's the most I've ever streamed during a Colts game.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to say before we head out of here?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Number one, I know we sound extremely biased, but we all know what we're talking about. And you all listening, just wait and see. This Colts team is for real. Number two, shout out to Skyler. Very knowledgeable. Great talking with you. And I am especially digging your background there, all the memorabilia. So appreciate you coming on, man. It was a pleasure.
Hey, no problem. I thank you guys so much for coming. It's my first podcast I've ever done. I listen to them all the time, so a little nervous, hands a little sweaty. Yeah, that Manning jersey back there, crazy story. I went to that Dolphins game. That's a very high and low day. It was so happened to be the week that Freeney got in the Ring of Honor. So everybody was in town celebrating. Every time I go to a Colts game, I try to get there as soon as the gates open, so that way you can get down, try to get a couple autographs. And when I was down there, I got Nelson's, Jack Doyle's. I got Kari. The only reason I got Kari Willis is because I was the only one that knew his name. He looked at me like he was dumbfounded, and I said, "Yeah, you're a beast, dude. Let me get your autograph." But I didn't even see Peyton when he walked out. You just felt like a buzz. You always hear it, like when those kind of people walk around, there's like a buzz between everybody. Everybody's whispering, like, "Oh my God, it's Peyton Manning." I had that jersey on. I almost wore my Bob Sanders jersey, but I had that jersey on, and I'm sitting there trying to reach my hat down so he could sign it, and then it just hit me like, "Dude, you have a Peyton Manning jersey on. This is the best opportunity you're ever gonna have." So I'm hurrying up. I had this random guy next to me. I had all my stuff, my girlfriend's stuff. I rip off this jersey, and as I'm ripping it off, I'm over the ledge, and I pull it down, and I smack Manning in the face with my jersey. And I'm like, "Oh my God, Sheriff, I'm so sorry. Can you sign that for me?" And I drop it down to him. He signs it. He throws it back up to me. And I tell you what, it's one of the greatest moments as a Colts fan. The end of that game, it was a terrible experience to hear all the Dolphins fans go Fins on the way home. But yeah, it's great to be a Colts fan and great to be on this podcast with you guys talking about the Colts.
Yeah, well, you're glad you're here. So I want to tell you a quick story. Skylar, Zach was with me for this. When I was a kid, in the 80s, I was a huge football fan. And I was a huge Archie Manning fan. The Colts didn't have a team until I was probably 14 when they moved to Indianapolis. And I was a big Marino fan, had dreams of living in Florida because during the winter in Indiana when I was a kid. A huge Archie Manning fan. All right. So Zach and my other son, Tyler, we go down to the Manning Passing Academy. What was that, 2008, Zach? 2007?
Yeah, something like that. I was 18. I do know that.
Yeah. So we get out. We're trying to figure out where to go. We're lost. We're just kind of looking around. There's parking lot. And there's people walking everywhere. And this guy rolls up on this golf cart and says, "Can I help y'all?" And I turn around, and it's Archie Manning. And I'm not one of these people that's starstruck. I mean, I've stood in the line at the gas station with Jim Harbaugh and stood in the line at a Pacer game, concession stand with Jim Mora. And I just leave people alone. I have normal conversations with people. And he said, "Can I help you?" And I turned around and I went, and then said some really weird, awkward stuff about when he played. And he was gracious. He laughed and he gave us directions. But so your jersey in Peyton's face reminded me of that story as well, about weird shit that happens when we meet our heroes. So
yeah, you never planned for it; it just happens, and you kind of got to roll with it.
No. So all right, well, Skylar, we definitely appreciate you joining us, and we'll certainly have you back. And we appreciate you for tuning in and listening or watching, whatever the case may be. And we want to remind you that we are moving we're building a fantasy community in Patreon. We're going to roll the details out before the regular season starts here in the next couple of weeks. So we want you to make sure that you go to our Facebook page or Twitter page at Horsemen Sports and follow us so you can get the information, sign up for our community, be inside, and get all the inside scoop and join us in there celebrating, watching football. And please remember, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And of course, we'll see you back here next week when we talk about all the
drama. Fantasy Central next week, I do believe.
Yeah, Fantasy Central.
FA and I are rolling out the first episode of Fantasy Football.
All right. So we'll see you back here next week. Until then, thanks for joining us. Deuces.